Good morning, everybody. It is my pleasure to be with you today to talk about a new law, the Hospital and Family Caregiver Law. What I will be doing is covering the basic elements of the law and also explaining why it was so important that California pass this law. California is now about the 20th state or 21st state that has passed what is called the CARE Act in other states. So our first slide is simply a title slide, the Hospital and Family Caregiver Law. And it also includes our I Heart Caregivers logo. I'm going to go to the second slide. The second slide has a picture of a heart, and it shows the date January 1st, 2016. That is the date that this law was effective. Last year it was passed as SB 675, authored by Senator Lieu, and of course the law became effective this January. Our third slide says, what is the Hospital and Family Caregiver Law? And it actually shows a picture of an older and a younger woman holding hands. We can't see their face, but it is an image of caregiving. On the fourth slide, the Hospital and Family Caregiver Law, which we abbreviate as HFCA, is a common sense solution that supports family caregivers when their loved ones go into the hospital. Next slide, and as they transition home. So what does the law do? On this slide, we again show a picture of the younger woman and the older woman holding hands. So now I will delve a bit into what the law does. The Hospital and Family Caregiver Law requires hospitals to record the name of the patient's designated family caregiver upon admission, keep that caregiver informed of their loved one's discharge plans, and make sure that family caregivers have the instruction they need to safely care for their loved ones when they come home from the hospital. Now, I do want to make something clear here. Hospitals are required to record the name of a designated caregiver if that is what the patient wants. So this is permissive, it is not mandatory. I've also had questions surrounding conservaties or other challenges that a patient may face when they have some functional issues. This law does not supersede any previous protections for individuals who may have some issues with Alzheimer's, dementias, or are under conservatorship. So just wanted to make that clear. The next slide, and so that I should back up. The law, that is really the crux of the law, and if you actually read the text of the law, you would really see that one slide tells you what you need to know in case you are either a caregiver or you are somebody with a caregiver. You go into the hospital, you are admitted, and you want to make sure that someone aside from you is trained on your medical tasks when you go home. So it's actually, that's why we say it's a simple, common sense solution. So why does California need the new law? And this slide again has the picture of the two women holding hands, an older and a younger woman. On the next slide, I'm going to give some facts about family caregivers in California. This is according to AARP research that just came out in 2015. We have over 4.4 million family caregivers in California. They provide over 4 billion hours of unpaid care. And AARP estimates that the value of their unpaid caregiving is about $57 billion a year. So we know that there are millions and millions of caregivers in California that don't have long-term care insurance, have no other way of paying for care for their loved ones, and so they must be the ones who provide care. On the next slide, we have some more data, and this is national data on the average family caregiver. The average family caregiver is a 49-year-old woman caring for an older loved one. She usually works outside the home, full or part-time. She provides an average of 20 unpaid hours for care for her loved one each week. And this care will occur for an average of about 5 years, which again, of course, points to the need for the passage of this law. We also know that 1/2 of family caregivers perform medical or nursing tasks, such as managing complex medication schedules, tube feedings, managing catheters, operating medical equipment, and giving injections. There's also bandaging and wound care, and using other sophisticated technology in the home. On the next slide, these folks, these particular family caregivers, typically do not have any training. And in fact, our research showed that most family caregivers report that they received little or no training to perform these tasks. On this slide, we have a quote from a caregiver who said, "I learned wound care, changing catheters, all the duties of a home healthcare nurse." Our next slide. In other states, this is now a picture of all the states in the United States, showing where what is called the CARE Act in all other states, Hospital and Family Caregiver Act in California. This is as of the end of 2015 where the law has passed. And the map shows that in addition to California, Oregon, Nevada, Colorado, New Mexico, Oklahoma, which was the first state, that's Arkansas, Mississippi, Illinois, Indiana, West Virginia, New Jersey, New York, Connecticut, Rhode Island, New Hampshire, and Maine, and Puerto Rico have all passed the law. That was as of the end of last year. On our next slide, just some information. How can you help? One of the ways you can help is obviously if you live in everyone here is in California, but if you know folks that live in some of the states where we're still trying to pass this law, I'm happy to share with you some information so that individuals in those states can reach out to their state legislators and their governors to ask them to pass it. We also have a story collection site. That's iHeart Caregivers. And you can share your story and sign up for the latest news. The website is aarp.org/iHeart Caregivers. iHeart Caregivers all runs together, no spaces. And on this slide, again, we have our iHeart Caregivers logo. I want to tell you a nice little story about iHeart Caregivers, actually. Last year, we recognized one caregiver in every state who had submitted a particularly touching story. And this person, once we talked to her, wanted to be part of the effort. So in December, I traveled down to Coalinga to present a lovely woman by the name of Sandy Douglas, a painting of a picture she had submitted of her and her mother. And she had tears in her eyes as we presented this. It was really meaningful to her. So that's some of the work we do with iHeart Caregivers. I want to also share with you, if you are a family caregiver, you are not alone. AARP has a website called the Family Caregiver Support Center. It's aarp.org/caregiving. And you can also get involved with our advocacy in the States, which I did mention before, aarp.org/support caregivers. And I want to thank you very much for listening to our presentation today. We'll take questions in a minute. I would like to, is this a good time to share my contact information? So my contact information, I'm in Sacramento, is 916-556-3027. Or you can email me, nweiler, that's NWEILER, @aarp.org. So happy to take questions at this time.
There's a question in the chat box. There's two. Oh. One from Monique. Are there any developments in California with expanding nurse delegated tasks outside of IHSS providers?
Hi, Monique. Nice to see your name. As far as I know, right now, there are not.
Nina, there's a second question from Rick.
Hi, yes, I see that. Hi, Rick. They are supposed to tell them that they have the right to designate a caregiver, and it is supposed to have a line on the chart when they are checked in. If folks are experiencing a situation where they're going to the hospital, and this is not happening, I am happy to hear from you, but you can also call the Center for Healthcare Quality at the Department of Public Health, and I'd have to pull up the number. But you can, in fact, make a complaint to them. I know that we had another question in here. What happens to patients who do not have family members? That's a great question. That looks like that's from Artina. You, as family caregiver, and I should have made this clearer, does not have to be a family member. Now, the issue with IHSS, as I understand, is you can certainly designate your IHSS caregiver. I understand that they are not paid for their time learning medical tasks. But if you have, say, an IHS caregiver that either is willing to forego that or is a family member, that's a possibility. I know that I have been discussing that with CAPA about how we manage that. But you can name anybody. So actually a very good friend of mine who doesn't have children and isn't married designated his best friend when he had to go into a hospital recently. Thank you, Robert. I just tried to talk. And so somebody named Robert McCarthy actually shared the Center for Healthcare Quality. And if I could pull up the number, if I'll appreciate your patience. So, and I have tried this number. If you're experiencing a situation where the hospital is not abiding by these rules, I suggest you call the following number, 916-324-6630. Again, that's 916-324-6630.
My question is that, when we're talking about hospitals and admissions and caregivers, I'm a caregiver for IHSS, and what I found is that when people are hospitalized and injured and become, let's say, consumers or disabled person, they are connected to go into a nursing home or a rehab rather than IHSS. So the problem, I think, is that, the ombudsman at the hospital or maybe the patient advocate, they're unaware or they haven't been trained, or it's not. I think that the federal government tried to correct this community first choice option, which was to say that people should be in the community first. But what's happening is an institutional bias where people are being put into nursing homes and skilled nursing facilities rather than in IHSS because their supports aren't there when the person's ready to be discharged. And there isn't a place for them to go sometimes. And so there isn't a coordinated effort to do that with the managed care organizations or anybody else. So the institutional bias is that, one of them is that the person that's in the hospital, if they're in a nursing home, the nursing home gets paid while they're in the hospital to keep the bed open. But in IHSS, if the person goes in the hospital and the caregiver or IHSS provider goes and provides care, they never get paid. And if they try to get paid, they will be prosecuted for fraud, even though they might be doing a lot of work for their children or family members. So, I hope that we can, turn around the institutional bias by making equity and parity with funding and policies with home and community-based care along with parity with institutional care. Thank you.
I think that's a really important point. This new requirement certainly is a small piece in a much bigger puzzle, but it is one way to try to get us to the point where if there is a family caregiver, that person will be enabled to help care for that person, their loved one, in their home, in their community, and stay there so that there will be supports there. But I understand it is a really huge problem. It seems to almost be intractable, but we know that there are some good solutions out there and that California needs to get to that point. I can speak, though, to the law and how AARP, year after year, when we survey our member, 90% will tell us, I want to continue living in my own home and community. So this is one piece of the pie that we hope will help with this issue.
Thank you.
Hi, this is Anat. I have a question to see how, and if possible, this law could be adapted for when you are a family member taking care of or knowing that one of your parents have dementia, but because they're in the early stages, they refuse to be involved in their medical care. And when you reach out to their doctor, of course, the doctor refuses to speak to you because of HIPAA. And then we have to wait till, that person who has dementia is either, they fall, they injure themselves, they have an adverse reaction to their medication, some emergency, some crisis, before then the family could truly step in and help. Has there been any discussion about that?
At this point, Lynette, no, I haven't had any discussion on that, but I would love to continue the discussion offline and bring in our partners with Alzheimer's so that we can together discuss some solutions to this. Do you mind, can you email it to me, or you're okay giving it to me?
Sure, I could email it to you.
Yeah, just for your privacy. Yeah.
Sure, thanks.
So it was nweiler@aarp.org.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you.
And I should also mention the Family Caregiver Alliance and the Family Caregiver Resource Centers are also partners I'd like to loop into the conversation.
There is one question from Artina in the chat box.
Yeah.
Do you have any suggestions for those IHSS consumers who have no one they can designate as caregivers?
That's Artina. That's a really great question. Again, it doesn't have to be a family member. It could be a close friend, a trusted neighbor. So that might be one individual or some individuals that you could tap if it's somebody, again, you really trusted. I would have to think a little more deeply about that, or perhaps talk to Karen or some other folks about some suggestions we could make along those lines. That's just what comes up top of mind. So I'd like to make an additional comment, Rosemary, if that's okay.
Yes.
Go ahead. There's a gentleman here who has a response to that question.
Oh, great.
And that is that in any county, you can go to the public authority and use their registry to find a caregiver. If you want to do it that way, that's a possibility. I don't know if that would actually apply, but it is a possibility.
And they can enlist the help of an ombudsman or patient advocate, whether in the hospital, to help them.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
I did want to make everyone on the phone aware that AARP has some informational materials on the law. I know that if you will be asked about those in the survey that follows, but we have wallet cards in English and Spanish and Tagalog, as well as posters. So if you are a caregiver, or if you know someone that might benefit from the new law, or you know many people who might benefit, please reach out to me. We're doing all the printing, all the mailing. We can send you as many as you need. So again, there are wallet cards and posters and fact sheets. So I wanted to thank everybody for joining us today. And I hope that you found the presentation helpful and that this is something that you can use either as a caregiver, someone receiving care, or someone who works with clients. My information, again, is nweiler@aarp.org. That's NWEILER @aarp.org. Or you can call me at 916-556-3027.